回の作戦は国連軍、米軍、欧州連合軍、そしてワルシャワ条約機構軍による一大反攻作戦である。
So, the Warsaw Pact is mentioned. To understand that, the Warsaw Pact was basically the East's equivalent to the NATO. It was founded in response to the West German rearmament, and there's also a mention of a European Union army. Obviously, this is a thing that hasn't been realized to this very day. All of them partake in this Operation Neptune. Now, just a fun fact, this was also one of the codenames used for the Allied invasion of Normandy in 1944. And maybe in a way this is a much more important Operation Neptune, considering the circumstances. And this operation takes place at the coast of Gdansk. That is the Polish name for the formerly German city of Danzig. And again, ironically, another World War II reference. This is just how World War II started, with a naval bombardment of the shores of Danzig and a landing there. So yeah, nice touch. I don't think this is coincidental at all. Later on, it is mentioned that East Germany is probably viewed by the West as a shield. This makes a lot of sense actually, because West Germany in real life was viewed as a shield by the NATO. Simply due to the fact that the south was basically secure due to the Alps with Italy, and Switzerland was neutral anyway. So yeah, West Germany would have been the battlefield of the Cold War if it would have broken out. That was the goal, to just halt the eastern advance within Germany. That is also the reason why a lot of gold reserves of Germany are to this very day abroad. So these gold reserves, they are abroad. They were brought there back in the Cold War due to the fact that people were afraid if this Cold War turns hot, then all of these gold reserves would fall into enemy hands, and Germany has the second largest gold reserves in the world. So the idea was if they are in Paris and in the US and all around the world, in allied nations, then in case of emergency, the West German government could have continued the war out of its exile, accessing these massive funds that they had amassed over the years. In this war scenario, it makes a lot of sense that now that East and West are working together against a common enemy, that they obviously want to keep their valuable West Germany, because at the time it should be the third biggest economy in the world. In the 50s it was the second biggest economy in the world, but I think at the time this enemy is set in, it has been overtaken by Japan as well, so it should be the third biggest economy at the time there. And obviously then they are willing to sacrifice little East Germany. So there's a moment where we see a flag on one of the East German ships, and it's kind of a wrong flag. It's just the German flag with the East German Air Force emblem on top of it. That one did not exist in that form to my knowledge. And the East German Navy also had a different flag. So yeah, but once again, I guess this is just their own kind of symbolism that they like to use. Well, it's not even symbolism, it's just they have their own symbols in this Muv-luv universe, as we have already discussed plenty of times in the previous episodes. So, as the amphibious invasion begins, we see these water TSFs rising. And within the Muv-luv universe, they have a designation A6 Intruder. Now, the Grumman A6 Intruder were an all-weather attack aircraft type. So, once again, a nice historical reference, even though I think they should have used some actual amphibious assault tanks or something like that, because these are not really traditional TSF as far as I could see. After that, there's a scene where they show the Karl Marx, and it is supposed to be the flagship of the East German Navy. Now, there was a ship called Karl Marx in the East German Navy, and it was a Riga-class frigate, or as the Russian specification of this type was Gornostai. And there were actually was it 4 or 3 ships? There were several ships by that of that type in the East German Navy, and those were the Karl Marx, the Ernst Thälmann, and the Friedrich Engels. And those 3 guys were very famous German socialists, and together with Lenin, they were sort of the gods of East Germany. Like, they were the worshipped idols. And the real flagship, however, of those was the Ernst Thälmann. However, in this universe, we can of course assume that maybe the Thälmann has already been sank, and now they use the Karl Marx as their new flagship.
ベルリンのラジオ局にこんな質問が届いたそうだ。ベータの死骸は食べられるのですかと。そこで局員はこう答えたそうだ。とてもまずくて食べられません。あなたがイギリス人でもない限り。
And then we have the obligatory mocking of the English food. It shows, hey, even Germans have humor. It's just different from other people. There's of course a stereotype that we are not very funny and we don't have a humor. We have a special kind of humor, and I think it's sometimes hard to grasp for other people coming here. Everybody mocks English food. Like, it's not that special, but it's of course a funny thing to do, to raise the morale of the troops, and dissing any capitalist countries is always a good thing.
We then see Zweig and another high-ranking military guy talking to Pham, and the epaulets, again, very low quality. I couldn't really analyze them. They seem to indicate that we see a fleet admiral on the left and a frigate captain on the right. However, it is later said that Zweig is just a major. I'm really not quite sure. Could be correct. Again, the quality is just not high enough to properly say, okay, those epaulets should be those and that one. But overall, as I can judge from early episodes, these guys know what they are doing, and I just think it's just lack of drawing quality and not a bad historical research that they did. Another Polish city is mentioned. I don't even know if I can pronounce it correctly. It's Kiev, and that is the Polish name for the formerly German town of Dirschau near Danzig.
却下だ却下。我々は日没までに40キロの重心を命じられている。
米軍や欧州連合に遅れを取るなど東ドイツの威信に関わる。
We have this extreme friction between again the commanding officer of the troop and the political commissioner, so between Aristina and Gretel. Once again showing what we always said, that there would be confusion if both make an order with a different objective.
我々の政治目的はまだ果たされていない。党への忠誠心を疑われてもいいのか。
Which is of course a bit contradictory, but then again that's always the case with these socialist countries, because they really don't have the manpower to sacrifice, but they don't want to lose out. And interesting enough, I think you see that with Gretel. She hates the Stasi, but she's a proud East German. So yes, still there were people that were proud of their country.
So near the end of the episode, the Americans fire their Phoenixes. There's indeed the AIM-54 Phoenix, a long-range air-to-air missile used by the Tomcats, and it's used as an air-to-ground one here. It kind of makes sense since they only developed those starting in 74, and yeah, in this universe it is reasonable to assume that they would have adjusted them for air-to-ground combat. And as it is later confirmed, that those missiles were the ones they used to lock on us, so on the socialist TSF maybe. It is not really confirmed. They just say, okay, they used these weapons against us once, referring to the Cold War between the East and the West. But it is not explicitly stated if they locked them onto other aircraft, other TSF, or just ground forces and stuff like that. But again, very accurate reference over here. So yeah, I really liked that.
Well, we have another few names this episode. Lise Hohenstein, Theodore's sister, a normal name. Her mother, Marlene. The Major Zweig. And Joachim Balk. Now, when I first saw that last name, I thought it's not familiar, but we looked it up, and there are German people with that last name, so Balk is still a German name.
見捨てるわけにはいかんだろう。同じドイツ人として。
同じ。あんな奴らを同じドイツ人だなんて私は認めません。
Showing that, especially in the young generation, there's this rift between them, between the East and West Germans, which was true for that generation. Which is, of course, if you don't experience the people from there, you can't really, you just judge them by whatever you hear in the political statements of the countries. Joachim said that we are all Germans and we have to fight together. And it shows that more of the older people that may or may not have experienced the United Germany beforehand, of course, would still think that just Germans and that they're, so of course that are Germans. They'll will not long ago we lived together, so we belong to each other. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to thumbs up and share this video on any social platform you know. Reddit, for example, is still something I'm not very familiar with, so that I will be grateful for that. And leave your questions and comments in the box below. Like I said, I try to reply to most of them, but of course I don't want to take anything from the next episode away from it and type an extremely long response to it. So keep that in mind if I keep my answers short to your questions. So make sure to keep watching and see you next week for the 5th episode of Schwarzesmarken. And remember, I can say it, I'm German.